Have you ever wondered how some people just seem to make doing hard things look easy? And they just seem to be winning all the time, momentum constantly in their life in all areas. And the rest of us, mere mortals, just kind of struggle. We have to, white knuckle and death grip our way through getting after things, making big goals happen. If you're anything like that, or if you can relate to that at all, then I've got something for you that's an absolute brain tickler, kind of a mind bender, maybe even, but it was incredibly powerful for helping me get into a mindset that started making doing hard things become easier and easier and easier. And the more I remember to be in this zone, this kind of mindset, again, it just continually keeps making hard things, doing hard things easier. So let's dive in. Let me share it with you and see if this sort of mind bender doesn't kind of give you a radically different perspective on making doing hard things easy. So give me a couple of minutes to convince you and persuade you that you have actually already done and accomplished the two hardest things you'll ever do. And there's a formula in how you did both those things that if you apply it to yourself as an adult going after your goals now in life, it can make you it makes going after hard things a lot easier. And those two things that you have already done, and they'll be the two hardest things you have ever done, you or me, is learning how to walk and learning how to talk. Now, please let me explain it. Just watch what happens. So when we learned how to walk and when we learned how to talk, again, this is like just one of those, maybe like those high thoughts that has stuck with me. But ever since I saw this, I felt like the universe kind of cracked open a little bit more for me. When you and I learned how to talk and walk, it wasn't just that you and I learned a new skill or that we got a little better. You and I, when we did that, we made literally a quantum leap in our individual evolution as an entity, as an organism, as a human. Because before you and I could walk, for example, the only thing we could do is crawl. And before we could crawl, the only thing we could do is lay on our back. So we literally, you and I, developed an entire new way of operating and being as an organism, as a unit, without a blueprint, a tutorial, without a guide, without a course, program, podcast, nothing. It was just you and I saw, and I'm assuming, bigger versions of ourselves moving around on these two things that were attached to the bottom of our body that looked similar to theirs. And these bigger versions of us were just moving around a whole heck of a lot faster. Do you get what I'm saying? We just started doing it. Same thing for talking. This part just really always makes me laugh. When you and I learned how to talk, we didn't even have words to explain to ourselves the concept of words. Like, you and I couldn't think in words before we knew words. Have you ever thought about that? Like, think about that for a second. Let me say that again. You and I couldn't even think with words before we knew words, because before words, we just had sounds, noises. Process that for just a split second. And then somehow you and I developed this awareness that these bigger versions of us around us made these noises and sounds. And when they made these noises and sounds, I guess I would imagine what you and I saw is that they got the food and drink that we wanted faster and easier. And we wanted to replicate that, I would imagine. But in this case as well, No tutorial, no blueprint, no guide, just natural instinct. Now, check this out. There's three things that both of these quantum leaps have in common. Okay, watch this. And this is where it ties into now you and I as adults going after our very sophisticated adult goals of more money, better physical fitness and strength, traveling, love life, relationships, yada, 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 whatever. Any of your goals. In both cases, learning how to walk, learning how to talk. Step one, you and I, we had a crystal clear goal and vision of exactly what we wanted. We were not fuzzy on the details at all. You and me, we saw bigger versions of us walking around, and you and me were like, I'm finna do the same. I'm going to do exactly what they're doing. I mean, we didn't even say that or think that because we couldn't think that because we didn't have words yet. But on some level, you and I developed this self-awareness where we looked at them and said, monkey see, monkey do. I'm going to do that too. So one, we had a crystal clear goal. Perfect clarity on what we wanted. When we saw heard the bigger versions of us making noises, and they seemed to get the outcomes and results that we weren't getting, we had a crystal clear goal. I would imagine of, I'm going to make noises like them so that I can too get the juice box and and the candy and the food just like them. The second thing that both of those quantum leaps have in common is we just literally kept showing up over and over and over and over again, relentlessly. The joke I make is when we were toddlers and learned how to walk, that's the definition of relentless. And I would argue that we were more relentless than David Goggins or any Navy SEAL. Like, think about that. Because I'm just choosing David Goggins as an example because he's a tough guy and very relentless, right? When David Goggins is relentless, he's relentless with the mind, with the intelligence and the mindset of an adult that can think about things, analyze, plan, etc. When you were a baby, a toddler, and you were starting to walk, you weren't just going after something hard. As I said earlier, you were making a quantum leap in literally yourself as a unit, as an organism. I don't know if I'm doing a good enough job of explaining the profundity of what you accomplished when you learned how to walk and when you learned how to talk. When you compare being able to do that to the version of you that couldn't do that, that's not just a glow up, a blow up, or a transformation. That is a mother beep beep a quantum leap. You dig? You see what I'm saying? And then the third component, so first component was that you had a crystal clear vision or goal of where you wanted to be. Second component is you were literally the definition of relentless. You just kept showing up and trying. The third component is this. It never once, ever occurred to you or me that walking or talking wasn't for us just because we failed 1,000 times. Like, think about how many times you and I failed to walk before we finally walked. 1,000 times? More? Like, think about that. How many times did you and I make noises before we said our first word? And how long was it from there before we could actually say the things accurately that we wanted and to ask for them? How many thousands of noise-making attempts did you and I have before we started making the right noises to get the right outcome? Never once did you and I even think that, maybe walking and talking isn't for me. I tried it once, couldn't walk. I'm just going to crawl for the rest of my life. Made a noise once, didn't get the juice box. Talking is not for me. That didn't even occur. It literally, do you get what I'm saying? There was literally no thought, even the faintest or foggiest notion or idea that this isn't for me. Meaning, now apply to it from an adult's perspective, you had absolutely zero self-doubt, self-criticism, self-judgment. In other words, you took action. You and I, we took action, relentless action, on the crystal clear goal that we had for ourselves in a mental vacuum where we applied zero meaning to failure. We didn't have the idea of what failure is. Failure is a human concept. Failure is a human creation of a meaning we apply to something. Failure doesn't exist in nature. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, failure doesn't exist. It's not that a gazelle failed to stay alive today because a lion caught it and ate it. There was no failure there. It was just is. Right? The lion didn't fail. See, you and I as adults, we look at, oh, that lion went on a hunt and he failed to catch a gazelle today. He's still hungry. But from the mind of a toddler or child, if you apply that mental vacuum we were in that was completely void of self-judgment, even the concept of failure, self-criticism, we were void of all that. In that vacuum, there is no failure, there just is. In that mindset, in that state, you and I took insane, relentless action to the point that you and I achieved not just hard things. My friend, you and I achieved quantum leaps in our identity, in our capacity, in what we were as a unit, as an organism. As adults, when we go after goals, our biggest resistance is what? The meaning we apply to things, the fear of failure, the self-limiting beliefs, the self-doubts, the self-criticism, the inner critic, etc., etc., etc. The fear of other people's opinions, the fear of being a punchline, the fear of being made fun of, the fear of being laughed at, right? The fear of rejection. It's all in our head. And yet, ironically, and in like a sick, twisted, almost perverse way, we create all the resistance with our own minds. Because any goal, and I've thought about this for years, ever since I had this thought. Any goal I have ever had, or any goal I've ever heard of somebody having, when I think about it, I can honestly say accomplishing that is less hard than learning how to walk and talk if you can't walk and talk. So you and I, we have already done for the two hardest things that we will forever do. Everything else that we've accomplished since walking and talking is less hard. It's easier to do because we've become smarter and smarter intellectually. We have a bigger and bigger capacity. We now have support systems. We have guidance, education, knowledge, information, right? To do anything we want to do. We didn't have any of that as a baby. It didn't exist for us. It might have existed around us in some sense from our parents, our caretakers, but it didn't exist to us. And I'm talking about the internal game, right? So really think about that. What are the three characteristics of you learning how to talk and walk? You had a clear, exact goal in where you were headed, what you wanted. 2, you showed up relentlessly. It didn't occur to you to stop trying. You just kept showing up and trying and acting as if, doing it as if you could, just taking one relentless attempt after another to get to your goal. And you applied absolutely no meaning to any of it in terms of not being able to do it until you could just do it. There was no concept of failure. You just kept showing up, trying again and again and again in different ways. You and me both. We did that. There's the formula. You get what I'm saying? Are you with me? There's the formula for making hard things look easy, or for going after hard things and being one of those people that makes it look easy. Because that's what the people that we look at and we say, wow, how does she make doing hard things look easy? How do they just naturally go after it? I'll tell you how. I'm now one of those people that I have men all the time and women all the time say to me, I feel like when I'm around you, Andre, anything is possible. Andre, you seem to just like have no limitations. You just go after everything. You just do anything you want to do. You just go for it. How do you do that? Don't you struggle? Oh, well, yeah, all the time. But I still go after it because I know if I don't go after it, I'm not going to get the goal. I'm not going to get the outcome. But this one simple, cheesy, corny little thought that I had one day that, again, to me just seemed to crack open the universe a little bit, the secrets of the universe a little bit, has become an absolute game changer for me. Anytime I feel like something's getting hard, I just think back to the fact that I learned how to walk and talk. And that's the hardest thing I'll ever do. And if I can do that, I can definitely do this because this is definitely way easier. If you think about it, big picture in terms of what's trying to, comparatively, what I'm trying to accomplish here from where I'm already at to what I accomplished learning how to walk and talk from where I was before I could do that. That was a quantum leap in my evolution. This is just a little goal I'm going after. No matter how hard it is, it's still comparatively to learning how to walk and talk before you could. Anything you're trying to do is still a little goal. Do you get what I'm saying? You dig? So, think about this. Stew on it. Marinate on it. For me, it became an oddly empowering idea. Right? Because I was like, well, there's the evidence. Because, a lot of times when we go after things, we're like, well, where's the evidence for me being able to even do this? You have the imposter syndrome, right? You have a lot of self-criticism, self-doubt. At least I've gone through a lot of that in my life. But then I'm like, well, there's evidence that I can basically make quantum leaps, entire quantum leaps in my evolution. And I did it twice already. And if you throw in learning how to ride a bike, you've done that 3 times, right? There's the clue, by the way, with riding the bike. When we learned how to ride a bike, that was the first time that we started considering whether we should keep going or not, and where failing on a attempted repetition, falling off the bike, started having meaning applied to it, pain, failure, etc. And then from there on, we've just amplified that as adults. But if you can go after a goal with crystal clear, perfect clarity on what it is that you want, just show up over and over and over and over and over again relentlessly, going after it, trying different angles, going after different ways, repeating the same repetitions that work over and over and over again, and apply absolutely no meaning whatsoever to you not hitting the outcome or the goal with this latest repetition. There's no failure. It's just you built the muscle. You put in repetition. You tried. You're attempting to get to the goal. Apply absolutely no negative meaning to it. Eliminate all thoughts around applying meaning, and just keep in a mental vacuum of neutrality, relentlessly going after your crystal clear goal. You'll get it. Hope that helps.